Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Professionals Pulse. I'm Farida Musaddi, the co founder and CEO of Al Fateh Technologies Dubai. As a tech consultancy firm, we've had the privilege of connecting with numerous clients who are increasingly seeking sustainable solutions to meet their evolving needs. Recognizing the growing demand for eco conscious practices across industries, we've witnessed a remarkable shift towards sustainability driven innovation. Today, we are thrilled to delve deeper into this pivotal intersection of technology and sustainability as we host this podcast. On this episode, we will explore the forefront of sustainable solutions. We will talk about the innovative strategies and groundbreaking initiatives that are shaping a more sustainable future. Join us as we uncover the journey of one such visionary, the challenges he has overcome, and the transformative impact his sustainable solutions are making on industries worldwide. Get ready to be inspired and empowered to join the movement towards a greener, more sustainable tomorrow. And today we have with us Mr. Ajit Mutair. Hello, Mr. Ajit, and welcome to the Professionals Pulse.
Many thanks, Farida. Thanks for having me today. Many thanks again.
Mr. Ajit is the founder and managing director of Nodin Instruments. He brings more than 17 years of global business leadership in his role. As a seasoned advocate for sustainability, Ajit's vision propels Nodin Instruments to make a positive impact on industries. Nodin Instruments has introduced cutting edge products like Node, the IIoT ecosystem, and Aquacast, which is a flood defense system, addressing these challenges with innovation in embedded systems, connectivity, and environmental safety. His commitment to sustainability, smart data management, and innovative construction methods resonates in the company's mission to provide enduring solutions for global partners. His strong emphasis on technology, steering the company towards delivering innovative, eco friendly to help achieve net zero targets. Once again, Mr. Ajit, welcome to the Professionals Pulse.
Thank you again. Thanks.
So, firstly, we want to know what made you lead towards this line of innovation for sustainable solutions and what is Node in primarily into?
Right. Lovely. Great question. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everyone who has joined us. So the first question is the primary reason behind was to make our world a better place to sustain and live because we have to look forward because we have got generations to come and we have to ensure that each one of us has got a responsibility to make the place sustainable. That's one among the reason, and
Correct.
that's my passion. That's the passion that I want to drive forward. And the second reason is specifically if you focus the current global awareness, right? Wherever you read, wherever you look, you see environmental challenges being highlighted. You see depletion of natural resources. You see all sorts, right? That's the second reasons why I personally delved into this initiative of bringing in sustainable solutions. Just to add to that, right? As every individual, it's important that we know this because it is important that we achieve our net zero targets by 2050 and we gain a 45 percentage in our carbon emissions by 2030. I'm stressing on this because these are the global targets because we will have to understand or we'll have to see through this at a holistic level, at a global level. So we all should be focusing our energy and attention, first of all, to ensure that the 2050 target of achieving net zero is our primary goal as well. And as we head into 2030, we get a 45% reduction in carbon emissions. So that's the primary objective of why I'm in this industry. And to answer to your second question, Farida, you asked the question about node and instruments, right? What we do. So we would bring in sustainable alternatives to the market. That's our primary focus. So we focus on bringing in sustainable alternatives regardless of the technology that is being applied, regardless of it is a tangible product, if it's a SaaS, right? We would continuously focus and scan the market to bring in sustainable alternatives, and with very specific focus on three industries. We would be focusing on manufacturing, and there are specific reasons why we would be focusing on these sectors. I would elaborate on that later. The first one is manufacturing, second one is construction, and the third one is clean energy. So these are the three sectors that we would delve into. So manufacturing, the reason being 45% of the world's energy is consumed by this sector, right? This sector
Okay.
consumes 45% of the world energy. So you will have to see it in two different angles. One, the energy coming into this industry has to be clean from a renewable source. That is one area that we focus on, ensuring that
Correct.
clean energy is one aspect. And the second thing is, once the energy gets into this industry, be it a manufacturing center or be it a production center, how is this energy being efficiently used, and how we are making sure that we are not wasting the energy. So that's one among the reasons we focus on manufacturing. And the second industry that we focus is construction. Construction,
Okay.
again, the traditional concrete that we use in construction, right, adds to around 10 percentage of the CO2 emissions. This is purely because of the materials that are used to make the construction products are from concrete, and concrete adds to the emissions. So 10% of the
Absolutely.
emissions are coming from concrete. So we would focus on construction sector to bring in more innovative products, right? And the third one is clean energy. And in clean energy, as I said, energy is 54%, right? And we want to bring in sustainable alternatives to this sector as well. And if I
Okay.
just take you back to manufacturing, as you rightly said, Farid, at the very start, we have the Node IIoT platform. Node IoT platform is industrial IoT platform which any businesses can use to ensure that their industrial practices or processes are driven by sustainability in mind. So we have got sensors, we have got uh, controllers, and we have got the complete web servers, mobile applications that integrates together such that the end users, for example a manufacturing supervisor or a facility manager, can exactly see where the energy is being used, whether this equipment is being used efficiently. So we have got that platform. Then, as you rightly
Oh, wow.
said at the very start, we have got AcoCast, which is a precast concrete block. And the good thing about this precast concrete block is it can be applied for flood defense walls, basically to help sustain the environment and to safeguard the assets, both human assets and other tangible assets. And co-cast precast concrete blocks are highly sustainable. Basically, the carbon emissions of this product is 76% less when you compare to other traditional blocks. And the last one, the clean energy sector, we are closely monitoring the clean energy sector, and we are working with a couple of businesses to bring in clean energy solutions. When I say clean energy solutions, we are focusing on tapping into stranded energy. When I say stranded energy, tapping into renewable sources that
Okay.
can be accessed remotely, and whereby we could convert the high computing and energy hungry resources can be housed remotely, so that we can use remote data centers to to compute the data. And these remote data centers will be powered by renewable sources. So these are the areas that we are focusing on. Maybe in the next couple of months, or maybe in the next in the next quarter, we would be adding a new product to our portfolio, whereby we would be bringing in a clean energy solution. So that's the focus of a node in instruments, if
Okay.
that's clear.
I think that's a wonderful initiative that you have taken, because the way things are going, I think we very soon, even from now, we need to move towards more sustainable solutions in all
Correct.
fields. So appreciate that for the initiative that you as an organization and as an individual have taken into consideration.
Correct.
So, Ajit, in all of this, of course, technology is one of the important elements that drives through this entire thing. So, how does technology play a role in driving sustainability, and how can businesses harness it for a more positive environmental impact?
Right, lovely. Great question, Farida. So I would take a step back so that we can understand the evolution of our industries, because we are talking about combining technology with industries. So if we go back, the first industrial revolution that we saw was somewhere in 1760s, right? We saw the industries coming in, shaping up, and we saw mechanized tools getting in. So that was the first place where we introduced technology into industries, right? When I talk about technology, I'm not just talking about computers or electronics. I'm talking about everything that can be connected to businesses, right? So we
Correct.
saw a big increase every year where we recognize that what does that do? It completely gives for the sustainability of that problem, right? So there has been a big conversation about how we are reducing the use of energy, how we are using it more efficiently. And then that slowly took us into the revolution where we saw electrification in 1860s or 1870s, right? We brought in electricity, we brought in, more assembly lines. We saw, mass production being in place. Again, at that point in time, there was a big, I was not part of that time, but my understanding is at that time, we had a lot of conversation around sustainability, how this is adding to sustainability. At the same point, we have got pros and cons on both the sides that can be discussed at a later point in time. And then if you see the third revolution, right, which most of us were part of, right, we saw electronics, which I love, which I'm electronics engineer. I talk electronics in great passion. Electronics, computers, pitching in and making sure that processes are more stable and more efficient. And we brought robotics in to ensure that what we give as input is coming out as a complete output, right? So we saw a great rush again. There was a big movement from technology into businesses in combining the processes that businesses follow, bringing in technology to business to make the facilities more sustainable. And as we are in the present time, we talk about the cyber hardware products. This is what I term it as cyber hardware
Correct.
products, because we use all the futuristic data driven technologies, be it artificial intelligence, be it edge computing, be it machine learning, be it blockchain, right? We bring in all these technologies into a hardware, and this hardware is sitting in your production facilities or sitting in your manufacturing. And basically what we're doing, businesses are harnessing the efficiencies or the solutions provided by this complete ecosystem, right? Which
Okay.
includes the hardware, which includes the futuristic data driven solutions. And what are we getting? We are getting green solutions. We are getting clean energy, and we are seeing businesses being more efficient. So in theory or in principle, you see every industrial revolution that comes in, you see new technologies comes in. Businesses are
Absolutely.
soon to get attracted to that. And the important point is, when businesses gets attracted to that, they see benefits in their own processes, in their own P&L statements. So I believe that's how it works.
Absolutely. So it goes hand in hand, definitely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Correct. And for those businesses who are looking out to start their sustainability journey, what practical steps or advice would you offer to kickstart this innovation process?
Lovely. So basically, I will try to take my example, because the journey that I had, right, what I have applied. So you will have to. I'm as you said at the very start. I've got 17 years of experience, right? So you will
Yes.
have to immerse yourself in the industry you are in. So you'll have to be make sure that you have your ears wide open, your eyes open to understand what is happening in the industry. You'll have to inhale and exhale the industry, and you'll have to eat, drink, and breathe the environment you are, right? So if you do that, right, you will get to see the gaps in the industry. And with identifying the gaps, you will have to establish conversations with industry leaders. You'll have to establish conversation with business leaders, identify and ensure that what you are seeing is a real gap, and then go out and propose this gap as a solution, right? And that would drive the innovation and innovation in your business. I believe that's one way that I have experienced in my life.
Okay. So what gap did you see in your journey towards initiating this?
Yeah, so basically, as I said, you got a big target to achieve, right? The target that you want to achieve is net zero targets, right? And when I looked at the data that I was seeing across the years, right, we all are still struggling, right? We are
Correct.
struggling to achieve the net zero targets. In manufacturing industries are struggling to get their processes efficient. So I honestly thought there was a problem in capacity building, right? And the capacity building in the sense means, do we have enough of people on ground, or we do have enough of technology on ground, or do we have enough of capital resources on hand in the ground to meet all these targets? That's when we gave birth to Noded Instruments. We said, listen, we can be part of this sustainable revolution as well, right? Because
Okay.
there is a big gap, because industries are not meeting their demands because of varied reasons. And one among the reasons what we understood was because capacity building was not seeing the right traction. And we brought
Correct.
in our business. And the second big innovation that we thought we saw in the market was with Aquacast, right? We looked at the UK industry wide data about what is the cause and effect of the flood, what is the flood bringing into the economy as a damage, and once the damage is being done, what is the cost of replicate or cost of driving the damage forward. So it was to the tunes of 10 billions of pounds, right? And this flood sector is the damage caused by flood sector is seeing 1.6 billion as of 2024. And from a UK government's perspective, the government has been investing 760 million. It invested 760 million in somewhere in 2004, and that is slowly increasing to 1.8 billion. So there is a big gap, and the big gap was we do not have efficient flood defense walls that efficiently safeguard the environment, the assets, and the human capital, right? So we brought in AquaCast, and what the importance about AquaCast is, it will not just give a flood defense, but we are putting in flood sensors to the precast concrete blocks. This is where you'll have to imagine the innovation here. Aquacast is a precast concrete block, right? It can
Okay.
stand on its own as a block, protecting humans, environment from flood. But what we did is we have attached a flood sensor to this block, and
Okay.
this flood sensor, what does the flood sensor do? It will sense not just the water parameters, or the height of the water. It
Water.
will
Yes.
help in detecting the entire environmental parameters. And what we are building is, we are building a solution that will give you predictive data analytics over a period of time, so such that we
Okay.
can effectively and efficiently, using artificial intelligence, predict flood over a period of time, At the same time, you could give effective flood warning. In our terms, we call it as early flood warning system. So if you
Correct.
imagine this precast concrete aquacast blocks will be laid across the sea coastline, across the river banks, and we're talking about not few meters, we're talking about kilometers, right? And across this flood bank, we will have sensors, which would mean when the flood water comes from the lower banks, because flood will not just, there are surface flooding, there was flash floods, that's a different thing. But in the normal flood scenario, when the flood comes from the lower bank, it will slowly raises. Immediately we would be alerting, the authorities will be alerting the end users such that they can move their valuable assets, they can move their human capitals, uh,
Correct.
uh, basically farmlands, they all can be moved into a safe haven. So that's another innovation that we brought in. Remember, this is all happening in quick succession, right? We brought in the business in back in November, and this is what I said. So we are in the process of continuously talking to business leaders, industry experts. We are taking part in trade shows, and we are continuously listening what is it happening within the industry, right? Where is the problem, where is the gap? And that's the innovation that we have just added to our product portfolio.
Yeah, and that's a very key point, that you have to keep your ears open. You have to figure
Correct.
out that where is the gap, and then
Yes.
that could be the solution that you can propose.
Correct.
Absolutely amazing. And of course, while we are discussing this, there might have been a lot of challenges or obstacles, that businesses face when they are attempting to innovate for a sustainable future. So, how can those challenges or those difficulties be overcome?
Great. So what I would do here is I would speak on startups because we are a startup, and I will also speak on a startup which is focused on B2B because our intention is to sell to businesses, right, rather than go into consumers. So for a startup focused on B2B, I would say the challenges that we faced are lack of visibility. No one knows a business exists like ours because we are quite new, we are early, and we
Absolutely.
have limited resources to establish ourselves, be it in the online space, be it in the the traditional market space. So that is a big challenge. And then the next big thing is limited access to capital. So we don't have our big pockets here, so we have limited by capital, and then we are limited by resources as well. So if you have limited capital, the resources that you have with you is very limited, so we will have to stretch on all what we have. So we'll have to give 300 percentage commitment. So that is a big stress that we are seeing. And the second thing is access to big leaders and industry experts. They will not open the doors until and unless they see you are a big man or a big person or a big woman, right, or a big business. They will not open the doors. So this is where we are struggling. So we tend to take part in trade shows, we tend to take part in networking events such that we reach these big leaders. And the last one is data. Data is a big thing, and if you want to access data, if you want to get industry reports, you'll have to spend a fortune, right? And even if you write to institutions within the industry who are focused on these sectors, they will not give you the data because they have certain
Absolutely.
in-house policies. So I would say lack of visibility, lack of funds, or limited access to capital funds, then accessibility to leaders or institutions, right, and accessibility to data, right. So these are some of the limiting factors. And to add to that, our take on the situation is any product that you focus on sustainability is not just a product for the local market. For example,
Absolutely.
we are in UK, right? And the products that we have in our portfolio is not just for the UK market. it can be
Absolutely.
applied to the global market, right?
Global
Because
market, yes.
because the environmental challenges that we see or we face are not just for a UK
One
market. It is
particular
across
country,
for,
yes.
yeah. And the
Yes.
challenge that we are facing here is establishing that global partnership, right? You have, government policies in place which will restrict your movement into a new market. You have, you have, resource constraints in identifying, local partnership, right? Sometimes you'll have to travel to the place to sit with people, convince them. So these are some of the challenges that we face. But the good thing is, once we overcome these challenges, once we have gone past this hurdle, right, then we will be seeing the benefits coming in. Yeah, so I think these are the early stage challenges. But if you're committed, if you give your 100 percentage, right, then provided that you have a good product, and the market needs the product, right? So if all these things, if all these ingredients comes together, then you can overcome those hurdles.
So, do you think it is because there is a lack of awareness, or this is something which is still new? People are not yet accepting such kind of solutions. Is it because of that this is much of a challenge? Because you mentioned the convincing part. So, do you think that could also be one of the reasons because people are not yet so much open to such kind of solutions? What do you think? Is that the mind share that people have?
Yeah,
Maybe that will
exactly.
take time.
It's the I would say the change in the mindset, right?
Yes,
It's quite hard to break, because if you want, especially if it's a consumer product, it's easy, right? It's not easy,
correct,
but you could still advertise yourself, make sure that it reaches the consumer. Since it's a B2B product, right, it is hard to get into businesses,
correct,
right? And convince them and say, listen, can you give me 5 minutes of yours? Because I sit here and try to reach people on LinkedIn and say, listen, can I get 5 minutes of yours? I've got a very interesting product, right? And I try my content differently with different people, and say, listen, they don't bother, because they have no time, or they already have solutions in place, that they're happy and they can commercialize. So I think it's the time. I think time would play a bigger role here, because people's time is
correct,
important. Second thing is, uh, until and unless people know that, hey, there is a business exist and this is their solution, and they will not, they tend not to talk to you.
correct. So, this was also one of my next questions, which you touched upon slightly. From a global perspective, you were mentioning that, of course, these solutions are not limited to one geography or one particular location. All of these are global solutions. So, how can one address international collaborations and partnerships to drive towards a more eco-friendly world? What can be done, to reach out to people? Are there any ways that you as your organization have tried to meet people from different countries and spread the word across?
Right, right. So very good, question, Farida, there. So as I said earlier, the challenges that you're facing is not just for you. It's a interconnected transnational, economy or universe, right? That's what you're saying. So everything that you see as challenge, right, is for the global, for the global economy, or for the global economy. So it would highly benefit. I think most there are steps in place to have this, transnational collaboration, or this intercontinental collaborations to happening. And I can see universities and institutions or organizations within the sectors taking the lead in bringing in the diverse crowd, because we are all unique. Diversity makes a big, change in bringing in, solutions, and and changes to the world. So it is a big, it is absolutely required to have this transnational collaborations of, for example, knowledge sharing, It's important that knowledge has to be shared. And second thing is
Absolutely.
technology transfer, right? Not all the economies in the world has got the depth to invest, right? So
Right.
once you invest, once you have the technology in place, you can transfer that technology across the borders and make sure that they're not reinventing the wheel, or they're not reinvesting, right? So it's all about bringing in sustainable solutions as quickly as possible to the market. So making sure that technology transfer is there, knowledge sharing is there. And last thing which I believe should be focused is on policy harmonization, right? Especially government institutions, right? Like UN, UNESCO, they all have to come together and have policy harmonization in place. For example, the net zero targets, or
Mhm.
the carbon emissions targets. It was a global initiative, and it is rippling down into every economy, and it is rippling down into every governments, right? So
Right.
that's a very good example. So I and there are a lot of barriers for us to move into each country, or to have established that conversations with the businesses there. As I said, they will not even talk to you, right? Even if you send five emails, six emails, they will not even talk to you. Even if you pick up the phone, you call them, they will not, because you have these traditional barriers in the place, and you have these silos in the place, right? So I believe, or as for your question, I think having that transnational collaboration, or intercontinental relationships between countries would add a big time into fostering this sustainable journey.
Absolutely. That's yeah, I think I share the same mind share here, that globally you need to have these big organizations, the UN and the UNESCO, to come together and educate and make all countries aware about the potential benefits of using such sustainable solutions. And I think then we would see a considerable shift towards adapting to these new kind of technologies.
Correct, correct, correct.
So, what role does a government policy play in fostering an environment which is conducive to innovation and sustainability within the industries?
So government, again, I think we touched a little bit about this in the
Yes.
earlier question. So basically, governments have got the ultimate power here, right? For example, introducing new policies, incentivizing businesses adopting greener technologies, right? So they will be soon to tag onto that. Any businesses moving into green technologies will be incentivized. So government can introduce policies like that. And then
Okay.
the second thing is carbon credits. Government can introduce carbon credits. For example, if your carbon emission is less, you will get this much amount of carbon credit. And once you, at the end of the year, you show how many carbon credits you have, you'll be exempted from tax. That's another example of government bringing in policy. And the second thing is, government across the world holds the infrastructure, right? So they could bring in greener technologies, green transportation, bringing in policies such that, for example, in UK, the mayor of London has introduced, EULA zones, where uh, 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 vehicles with a certain level of emissions are not allowed to be on the road, right? So
Okay.
uh, take it or leave it, or if it's good or bad, that's a different question. But governments can foster. And the third thing is, to give a level playing field to big businesses and to startup businesses, a research fund, right? Government can induce research funds. They can nurture startup businesses. And in most of the cases, they are doing it. In UK, government is funding lots of new initiatives. If you have got a very
Okay.
good presentation, that right away, that fund for it. And this is spread across the world, right? In Middle East, to Southeast Asia, Asia, America, every government is asking for new a new product development. So giving a level playing field. So I think these are the policies where government can pitch in, government can pitch in as a regulator and ensure that the journey to sustainability is getting the traction.
Absolutely. But do you think how many, I mean, percentage wise, how many governments are leaning towards these transition?
All the developing nations, sorry,
Okay,
all the developed nations are, I know that for a reasons. All the
correct.
developed nations are leaning towards this this process or these policies, and developing nations and those who are under the developing nations do have their limitations, but still they all encourage, sustainable initiatives. They all encourage sustainable policies. So I think it's a mixed bag. I think we are, when we focus on sustainability, I think we are all in it together. And I would say the success is purely because government leaders at a higher level has agreed to net zero targets by 2050, and has agreed to bring in the emissions by 45% in 2030. I think that's the sustainable leadership driving these initiatives.
All right. So, lastly, can you highlight any emerging trends or technologies that have the potential to significantly impact sustainable solutions or innovations in the near future?
Right. So basically, I would focus on three key emerging technologies here. The first one would be obviously artificial intelligence. It's a very futuristic data driven technology, and you will see artificial intelligence being embedded into anything and everything possible. Because if we go back to what we have been seeing as an industrial evolution taking place, industry 1, 2, 3, 4, it was literally, don't take me wrong here, it was literally replacing human elements, right? Human elements were replaced by machineries. Robots came in, right? So there is a transition happening, but that doesn't mean that we will be out of job, right? I'm
Absolutely.
100% sure that we will sustain ourselves. Our contribution would be would grow in size and in whatever way possible. So AI in sustainability will drive for the next 25 to 30 years. And I would say every machinery out there would be sustainable in making its own decisions, right? So you will be inducing all the possible artificial intelligence through machine learning algorithms, and they would sustain itself. When I say they would sustain itself, they would make their own decisions, right? It will be very
Absolutely.
quick. So that's
Correct.
one thing that I see will drive the global economy forward. The second thing that I would see is a 3D printing. 3D printing is gaining big momentum, and with 3D printing, you'll have zero losses. Your production would be highly efficient. So you will see 3D printing getting the traction. And the last thing which I would see is the move to clean energy would not be just reliable on the current renewable sources, and we would see a big move towards hydrogen. Green
Okay.
hydrogen would play a big role, and I can see a lot of businesses putting their investments behind finding green hydrogen as an alternative source. So if I had money, if my pockets were big, I would have definitely jumped into green hydrogen, right? Unfortunately, I don't have that I don't have that I can't stretch myself. But green hydrogen is a big thing for the next, maybe for 100 years.
Okay. So, Mr. Ajit, thank you so much. It's been really insightful. I've got comments from people, who are asking you questions, but we had covered most of these questions during the podcast. So, and the initiative is absolutely amazing. Even I got to learn so many things, especially about the flood control and the innovation that you have designed on that front. I'm sure there is a lot that has to be done in this industry, and as you said, as we grow and maybe as more awareness comes in, I'm sure it's going to be all positive in the future. So, thank you so much for sharing all of these amazing insights and experiences with us.
No problems. Thank you again. Thanks again for having me. Right. It was a pleasure to share my thoughts. And as I said, I'm a human being. I would have gone this way or that way, but we always have a conversation to have whether what is good and bad. Right. So again, thanks to all the listeners and all the viewers. Right. Thanks again.
So, signing off, thank you so much for joining us on this journey towards a more sustainable future. Remember, every small innovation counts. Let's continue to inspire change, innovate boldly, and build a better world together. Until next time, stay curious, stay passionate, and keep innovating for a sustainable future. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.